one of the favorite parts of what I do. As a medical exercise specialist, I handed that out because a lot of people don't know what that is. And what we do is we specialize in working with individuals who have chronic, a variety of chronic illnesses, whether they've got stenosis or low back problems, whether they have cancer. Osteoporosis is my specialty. And so if you have a wide range of health issues or concerns, we design very prescriptive programs to help. And so that's what I do on a daily basis. But what I like to do on a volunteer basis, which is what I do with Osteoporosis Canada, is talk to people about osteoporosis. It's a growing problem, and it's just something that's, in a sense, in one way unavoidable. It kind of comes with age, and then on the other hand, it can be avoidable as well. So I like to spend my time, sharing this information so that people understand that there is a way to manage osteoporosis if you have it, and that you could also prevent it if it's not a genetic predisposition for it. And so you don't have to feel like it's the end of the world, or that you don't have a life, or that you can't do the things that you really want to do, unless, of course, you want to go skydiving or bungee jumping. Okay, so that might be, I don't think I can ever help you with that. But when it comes to other things that you might be nervous or afraid of doing because you have osteoporosis, I'd like to dispel some of those myths. You know, a lot of people think that bones are hard, innate, they're not alive. They just hurt when you bang them against something. But what people don't understand is that bones are very much alive. They have their own bone cells. They're constantly regenerating themselves. So they're very much alive. They're made up of protein and calcium. And you have two types of bones. You have the external bone, and then you have the internal bone. So the amount of bone tissue is called bone mass. So when you go for bone density, that's what they're checking for. And while the density refers to the compactness of the bone. Okay, so if we didn't have bones, we'd be basically a puddle of tissues and organs, like amoebas just crawling around on the floor. Our bones actually allows us and gives us shape. And it also is responsible in part for movement as well. If the muscles contract, it moves the bones. But if there's no bones to move, then what's it contracting, right? So bones are really an essential part of our makeup. Okay, so let's quickly talk about exercise. Before you start any kind of exercise program, always speak to your doctor first, especially if you had a health issue or some sort of a health concern and you were injured, you fell and you fractured, or anything like that. Why? Because when you have osteoporosis, there are certain exercises that you should avoid. There are certain exercises that should be modified. And then there's certain exercises you should be doing to improve your bone density. So everybody, I hope, here does some form of an exercise. But understand that not all exercises are created equal for somebody who has osteoporosis. So let's say a couple of movements that are very controversial and actually quite unsafe for a spine is bending forward, leaning and going from side to side and twisting and back and forth. Why? Because they create a lot of friction with the vertebrae, and they can cause an abnormal force on that vertebrae, and then at some point maybe cause a fracture, right? So how many people here walk? Yay. How many people power walk? How many people power walk means you're picking up that pace, and when you finish that walk, you're going to have a little bit of sweat on. Or for women, you'll have a glow on. Oh, okay. How many people do their walking when they walk their dog? Or their pet? Wow, nobody here has a pet? Gee, ooh, that's the first. Okay. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Walking is one of the best activities that you could do, because it's a weight-bearing type of activity. Your activities must be weight-bearing, meaning standing. Everybody's sitting down, you're not weight-bearing. That is not a weight-bearing activity. So if you're a kind of person that sits in a chair, does a lot of knitting, watches a lot of TV, has a problem with their legs, and you can't stand up and use your legs as much, you're going to start losing bone density because you're not weight bearing. Okay, so that's a little bit of the exercise part. I'm more than happy to talk to people after. This is my favorite part because one of the things I do is I do design exercise programs for people of all various chronic illnesses, but my passion really is around designing it for people with osteoporosis. So I'm happy to answer any questions here. I thank you very much for your time and your patience. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you. I hope you learned a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.